850 Tomahawk missiles launched, 3 carrier battle groups deployed, 40 naval vessels engaged, thousands of combat sorties flown, 13,000 military objectives eliminated. A full month of the United States Navy pounding 21 nautical miles of ocean, yet the Strait of Hormuz remains shut. So they deployed something different. Not additional missiles, not more destroyers, but Marines. On March 27th, the USS Tripoli entered the Central Command Operational Theater. 3,500 sailors and Marines aboard, F-35Bs positioned on deck. The USS Boxer follows with 2,200 additional personnel. Over 5,000 Marines advancing toward Earth's tightest maritime bottleneck. Within 48 hours, Iran's parliament speaker Ghalibaf issued a response. Iranian military forces stand ready to engage any American service members who enter Iranian territory. Everyone's asking the same thing: are the Marines going to invade? That's the wrong question. The correct question is why the Navy, following 30 days of the most concentrated naval operation since the Second World War, was never engineered to reopen this strait by itself. And what shifts now that Marines have arrived? Subscribe to Navy Decoded. We don't forecast when strikes begin. We break down why 150,000 troops on spreadsheets translate to a 2-to-1 deficit at the point of contact. To grasp why the Navy required Marines, we must first grasp the trap. The Strait of Hormuz isn't blocked by warships. It's blocked by a comprehensive system. Before discussing what Marines bring to the table, we need to comprehend why the Navy, with overwhelming firepower, hasn't resolved it. And it's not because naval forces lack capability. It's because Iran doesn't fight the way the Navy was designed to dominate. Iran doesn't fight on the surface. Iran fights in layers. The foundation sits below the waterline. Defense Intelligence Agency assessments indicated Iran deployed over 5,000 naval mines before Epic Fury commenced. Rapidly positioned from speedboats, submarines, and coastal installations, inexpensive, concealed, dormant. They rest on the seabed waiting, and they were emplaced before operations began. A guided missile destroyer doesn't neutralize mines. The mines are already positioned, invisible, patient, but mines merely delay an opponent. The primary engagement zone is determined by topography. The fortress islands of Abu Musa, Larak, and Keshem sit directly along the shipping corridors. The IRGC transformed them into what Iranian military planners term fixed unsinkable aircraft carriers, complete with radar installations. Nor anti-ship missiles capable of roughly 70 nautical mile engagement range. Qatar missiles reaching well beyond 100. Mobile launch platforms concealed in tunnel complexes. Roll out, launch, roll back. A former Navy captain outlined a recent development in an interview. Iran established what he described as a toll booth between Larak and Keshem, a control point governing every vessel passing through. The technology behind these weapons warrants acknowledgement. The Noor operates as a sea-skimming cruise missile. It maintains 15 to 20 feet above the waterline during terminal approach, below the detection horizon of most ship-mounted radars until approximately 15 seconds before impact. It employs inertial navigation during cruise and activates active radar guidance only in the final miles, drastically reducing the detection and jamming window available to targets. Iran reverse-engineered this from the Chinese C-802, subsequently mass-producing it domestically. The tunnel infrastructure is equally methodical. Reinforced mountain installations with multiple egress points, each transporter erector launcher requiring under 90 seconds from emergence to firing. Satellite reconnaissance can locate tunnel entrances. It cannot determine which entrance or timing. And those islands represent just the forward perimeter. Supporting them is the mainland itself, 1,000 miles of southern coastline fortified with coastal missile positions. The geography is mountainous. The launch silos are underground and the mobile launchers relocate. CENTCOM has employed 5,000-pound GBU-72 bunker busters to eliminate hardened silos. But mobile TELs that emerge from tunnels, fire, and withdraw remain a challenge that hasn't been completely addressed. Here's the calculation. Firepower can eliminate a radar installation. Firepower can destroy a fixed silo. Firepower cannot capture an island. Firepower cannot secure a coastline. Firepower cannot defend a minesweeping vessel while it operates slowly, systematically within engagement range of every operational coastal battery Iran maintains. Missiles only produce craters, they don't hold terrain. And at Hormuz, someone must control the high ground overlooking the water. That's not a destroyer assignment, that's not a carrier responsibility, that's a Marine mission, and that's precisely who just arrived. But here's what viewers keep questioning. If Marines provide the solution, why did the Navy wait 30 days to deploy them? The answer isn't red tape. It's physics. Marines cannot assault an island with functional air defenses. The Ospreys would be eliminated during approach. F-35Bs cannot suppress landing zones if Iran maintains operational radar and surface-to-air missile systems. Minesweeping vessels cannot function beneath skies filled with anti-ship cruise missiles. 30 days wasn't hesitation, 30 days was operational preparation. Each stage required completion before advancing to the next. For 4 decades, Iran prepared for amphibious operations the way history has always known them. Vessels approach the coastline, landing craft deploy from well decks, Marines assault the beach under fire. Normandy, Falklands, Kuwait, 1991. Every amphibious operation in contemporary warfare initiated identically from the ocean. Iran's entire coastal defensive framework assumes this approach. 5,000 mines protect surface approach corridors. Anti-ship missiles target vessels on the horizon. Fast attack craft position in coves for ambush tactics. The strategy is sound: block the sea, block the landing. But the Marines arriving at Hormuz in 2026 aren't approaching by sea. They're arriving in a platform whose engineering renders every surface defense layer obsolete. The MV-22B Osprey is a tiltrotor, neither helicopter nor fixed-wing aircraft. It's both. 2 engine nacelles positioned on wingtips rotate 90 degrees, vertical for takeoff and landing like a helicopter, horizontal for cruise flight like a turboprop. The transition requires approximately 12 seconds. That's 12 seconds to transform a helicopter into an aircraft. And that transformation changes the equation. The traditional assault helicopters Iran designed its defenses to counter, the CH-46 Sea Knight or the Army's UH-60 Blackhawk, cruise at 140 knots with a combat radius of 200 nautical miles. That's precisely the profile Iran's MANPADS and island defenses were calibrated to engage. The Osprey cruises at 270 knots, double the velocity of helicopters Iran's defensive systems were built to intercept. Its combat radius exceeds 390 nautical miles, nearly twice as far. And the crucial detail, its transit altitude reaches 15,000 feet, above the effective ceiling of every man-portable air defense system Iran deploys. Let's be specific about the physics. The Yegle-S, the most prevalent MANPADS in Iran's arsenal, maintains an effective engagement ceiling of approximately 11,500 feet against targets moving below 400 knots. An Osprey transiting at 15,000 feet sits entirely outside the engagement envelope. The missile physically cannot reach it during cruise. MANPADS become relevant only during the final 60 to 90 seconds when the Osprey descends into the landing zone. That's precisely why AH-1Z Viper attack helicopters and F-35B fighters suppress landing zones before Ospreys arrive. The 31st Marine Expeditionary Unit rehearsed this exact sequence during Exercise Iron Fist with Japan 3 weeks before deploying toward Hormuz. The velocity changes defensive mathematics in ways Iran didn't anticipate. Island garrisons positioned for helicopters approaching at 140 knots have warning windows measured in minutes, sufficient time to man stations, activate radar, prepare engagement. The Osprey arrives at 270 knots. At 160 miles per hour, a 20-mile detection radius provides the garrison 7.5 minutes to respond. At over 300 miles per hour, that collapses to under 4 minutes. 4 minutes between radar contact and troops on terrain. When that reaction window compresses, the entire architecture of amphibious assault is rewritten. The mission profile. Ospreys launch from Tripoli at 200 nautical miles, transit at 15,000 feet above every mine Iran ever positioned, and land vertically on the objective. 24 Marines per aircraft, 12 Ospreys per wave, 288 Marines on terrain in the initial insertion. CH-53K King Stallions follow with artillery and resupply. AH-1Z Vipers and F-35Bs suppress the landing zone and maintain air superiority overhead. 4 decades of coastal defense engineered for warfare arriving by water, and the war just arrived by air. So Marines can land, but Iran claims it has 150,000 personnel waiting, 30-to-1 advantage. Surely that's significant. Let's examine what the mathematics actually reveal. Iran's parliament speaker wants you focused on one number: 150,000. The IRGC maintains approximately 190,000 personnel across all branches. Ground forces alone total roughly 150,000. Against this, the United States has 5,000 Marines approaching on 5 vessels, 30-to-1. On paper, Iran prevails. Let's calculate. 150,000 troops, 1,000 miles of Iranian coastline distribute evenly. That's 150 troops per mile, and they must disperse evenly because they cannot predict landing locations. But it deteriorates further. Iran doesn't just defend coastline, it defends 7 islands: Qeshm, Abu Musa, Larak, Kish, Greater Tunb, Lesser Tunb, Hengam, each requiring garrison forces, plus mainland installations, plus the western frontier. Analysts estimate each island requires 1,800 to 2,000 troops for adequate defense. The IRGC cannot position that many on every island while covering the coast, so each garrison realistically numbers a few hundred. Now consider the Marines. 5 amphibious vessels, each one a mobile airfield for Ospreys. At 15 knots, those ships can reposition to select their attack point within 12 hours. Iran doesn't know where Marines will land. Abu Musa, Larak, Qeshm, Kish, the coastline near Bandar Abbas. Marines select one island, Ospreys launch, and 550 Marines from the battalion landing team concentrate on 5 square miles of island terrain. The IRGC garrison likely numbers 300 to 500 personnel, so the calculation inverts: 550 Marines against 300 IRGC on a single island. The ratio becomes nearly 2-to-1 favoring Marines. Golubov's 150,000 becomes 300 at the point of contact. That's not courage, that's geometry. The attacker selects the point and concentrates forces. The defender must cover everything and disperses thin. This is warfare's oldest principle, and it doesn't favor the side with more troops. It favors the side with superior mobility. Following landing, the IRGC garrison on the island becomes isolated. Iran's air defenses have collapsed. No airlift for reinforcements. Iran's surface fleet rests on the seabed. No maritime resupply. The troops on the island represent all the troops there will be. No additional personnel, no additional ammunition. Marines can land. The numbers favor them at the engagement point, but numbers mean nothing if the island's defenses remain intact. Radar, missiles, weapons trained on the landing zone. So what actually remains of Iran's defense following 30 days of epic fury? Iran constructed its Hormuz defensive system over 4 decades, and Hormuz remains closed on day 30. That demonstrates the problem's complexity. But 30 days of epic fury have methodically dismantled it. Start with airspace. 30 days of suppression of enemy air defenses means every radar that activates receives an AGM-88. Iran's integrated air defense network is functionally inoperative. Without air cover, the surface navy had nowhere to operate. Over 60 Iranian warships now rest on the ocean floor. Without naval forces protecting supply routes, missile and drone inventories depleted. More than 500 missiles and 2,000 drones expended, and the production facilities that would replace them are destroyed. Mobile coastal launchers remain present but actively hunted. Marine F-35Bs and Navy F-35Cs employ forward-looking infrared to identify transporter-erector launchers emerging from tunnel entrances. GBU-53 Stormbreaker munitions destroy the launcher at approximately $200, 0.000 per engagement. Every NOR lost is one that cannot be replaced. Production facilities no longer exist, and maritime routes for importing replacements are controlled by the Navy. America maintains tens of thousands of Stormbreakers. Iran possesses a finite and diminishing inventory. The mathematics run one direction. Command structure is degrading. 30 days of strikes on command facilities, communication nodes, and headquarters have fractured coordination between IRGC units. Orders that once transmitted across an integrated network now travel by courier, by radio, by improvisation. Units that once functioned as a system now operate as isolated elements. Meanwhile, the fast attack craft that survive, still numbering in the hundreds, are hunted continuously by A-10 Warthogs, AH-1Z Vipers, and MH-60R Seahawks. Fewer exist each dawn. That leaves two elements Epic Fury hasn't eliminated. Mines, still passive, still patient, still in the water. But the stockpiles and manufacturing facilities are gone, so no additional mines will be deployed. The final genuine variable is the Ghadir-class submarine fleet, 20 or more diesel-electric midget submarines designed for the Gulf's shallow 100-foot waters. But submarines require ports for battery recharging, torpedo resupply, and crew rotation. Epic Fury destroyed the naval bases and eliminated the submarine tenders in the opening week. The surviving midget subs are trapped beneath the surface with depleting batteries and nowhere safe to surface. Here's what this means for the marine operation. When air defense networks are silenced, Ospreys no longer require dedicated electronic warfare escorts. The mission package reduces, turnaround time decreases, and more waves can launch daily. When the surface navy is eliminated, amphibious ships can approach to within 100 nautical miles of the target island instead of staging from 200, cutting transit time per sortie nearly in half. When coastal launchers are hunted to depletion, landing zone suppression phases shorten from hours to minutes. Each layer removed from Iran's defense doesn't merely eliminate a threat, it compresses the operational timeline so perimeter islands can be seized. Coastal defenses are degraded, but the coast is only the entry point. Behind it exists an entirely different challenge. Marines seize the coastline, but Iran is a vast, heavily fortified interior. To collapse defense in depth, you require a force that bypasses geography entirely. That's the physics of the 82nd Airborne Division. Elements of the 1st Brigade Combat Team alongside dust-off aero medical units didn't deploy from Fort Liberty to assault beaches. Paratroopers don't use beaches. They exist to bypass coastal engagement zones, drop onto strategic airfields deep inside Iranian territory, and sever supply lines feeding the defenses. But you don't insert infantry into a fortress without clearing the geometry first. That explains the Air Force. A 10C Warthogs from Idaho and Michigan arrived in theater because, despite approaching retirement, they remain unequaled at solving one specific mathematical problem: destroying IRGC fast boat swarms and breaching coastal bunkers before Ospreys descend. And just before the first boot contacts ground, the EA-37B compass call, making its combat introduction, will dominate the electromagnetic spectrum. It blinds surviving radars. It scrambles command frequencies. It ensures when American forces land, Iranian defenders are operating blind. A retired Navy captain analyzing the campaign stated simply, "I believe we're in the third quarter of this operation. The MEU and airborne arriving represents the third quarter." The first two quarters dismantled Iran's air defenses, destroyed its navy, and severed its supply lines. The third quarter places boots on ground, the force to capture perimeter islands, collapse the interior, and protect minesweeping operations. The equation has a solution. It awaits only the directive. Golubov says Iranian forces are prepared to engage, but engage with what? Air defenses are silenced. The Navy rests on the seabed. The command network is fractured. The factories are rubble. Layer after layer removed until engagement means standing on an island alone watching Ospreys descend. Iran designed the correct equation for the wrong conflict. 4 decades of defense against naval vessels. Marines didn't arrive by vessel. Defense against amphibious beach assault. Marines assault from above, defense against short-duration airstrikes that depart, Marines land and remain. If this analysis changed how you view the Strait of Hormuz, subscribe to Navy Decoded. A global economy held hostage, supertankers paralyzed at sea, a fifth of global energy supply locked behind 21 nautical miles of water. The Navy deployed carriers, destroyers, and Tomahawks and demonstrated the limitations of firepower. It dismantled Iran's air defenses, destroyed Iran's navy, and leveled Iran's weapons production. Extraordinary destruction. But destruction isn't control, and Hormuz operates on certainty. To transition from destruction to control, clearing mines beneath the surface, neutralizing fortress islands in the corridor, hunting mobile launchers in mountain tunnels, required something a cruise missile cannot provide. Boots on terrain, or more accurately, boots from the sky. Iran designed a fortress to stop ships, so America deployed a multi-domain force from above. 5,000 Marines capturing perimeter islands by Osprey over every mine beneath stealth fighters, and the 82nd Airborne inserting deep inland to collapse the interior, a system engineered for ships dismantled from above. The fourth quarter opens the strait, not because someone issued an order, because the mathematics left no alternative. 5,000 Marines, 21 nautical miles, one equation,